Welcome to the Decent Crypto Podcast. Today is Saturday, August 20th, and we are live with a Decent Crypto recap. I'm here with Matthew Blumberg. Matt, how you doing today?
Oh, you know, another day, another down 12% on Ethereum.
Another down 12% on ETH and 90% in my portfolio. So it's another good day. I've been told that I always dox you at the beginning of our shows, but I never dox myself.
What the viewers don't know is that actually you're Matt.
I am actually Matt, and I just call you Matt Blumberg. It doesn't, we're here for you, I have to dox you. I can't dox myself.
We could rename the podcast Two Bored Mats.
Two Bored Mats, dude, that's a great show.
Two Bored Mats talking NFTs.
Talking about OFAC.
Regulations and some sanctions stuff.
Dude, pizza and policy. I've had the name forever. We just need a show now.
And viewers.
Well, look, I think this is a policy show because I think 5 straight episodes now we've talked about OFAC.
It's true.
Let's talk about it again today.
Let's do it.
So more news, censorship on the docket. What happened, Matt? Coinbase, my employer, on the hot seat. Real quick. These views are my own and Matt's own. Don't represent the views of my employer. None of this is financial advice.
I have an employer now too.
Hey guys, everybody, congratulate Matt. Matt is now working at Polygon. Polygon Matt in the building. Let's go.
Oh God, it's got a terrible ring to it.
Polygon Matt.
Polygon Matt.
Again, these views represent Matt only, not his employer. Yeah, that's pretty good, dude. There's an Octagon protocol, is there? I should just buy Octagon.xyz.
Let's do it. Let's do it right now before the viewers do.
Yeah, true.
We'll go on Google domains while we talk about OFAC. Let's talk about OFAC.
I know.
So,
all right, Matt.
So we had a little bit of a flurry, right, in the crypto Twitter sphere this week over the potential for OFAC to apply pressure to centralized staking service providers, right?
Yeah.
So something like 66% of all ETH is in US domiciled or is in centralized companies or is provided by centralized services that could probably come under a lot of pressure. So you got Coinbase, you got Kraken, you got Lido, each of those alone is an enormous amount of total staked ETH to date, right?
Yeah. Check out part 4 of our merge deep dive if you want to dive deep into the actual implications of this.
Yeah, we'll link it in the show notes. Yeah,
we'll link it in the show notes. But the idea being there's 4 big groups, main groups that are honestly it's not even 4, man. It's really Coinbase. It's Lido, sure, but Lido is not domiciled here. Kraken, sure, but Kraken is not a public company in the United States. All the other validators are not nearly as big.
Put under OFAC pressure not being a public company, right?
Of course you can. I'm just saying that the biggest, the most scrutiny is on Coinbase because of its standing as the biggest player in the United States and also being a public company and one of the biggest validators.
Definitely. So the question is, if regulators came to Coinbase and said, "Yo, you're producing a lot of blocks here. We don't want you to produce any blocks that touch the Tornado Cash address. You got to start censoring transactions. Would they comply or not?" And then when you look at compliance, it sort of breaks down into 2 kinds of compliance. So there's sort of relatively innocent compliance where Coinbase could just not approve or could just not include transactions that touch Tornado Cash in their blocks. You already saw this out of Flashbots, right? So they're building this MEV boost software for post-merge Ethereum to have an MEV marketplace. And they actually did add a whole bunch of, they added all of the OFAC sanctioned addresses into the protocol as don't include those.
Right.
Bad. That's bad, right? That's terrible. And so then they went and open sourced the software, and that's much better. You got to think nobody's going to use the censor button anyway.
Yeah.
censored block production, okay. Where it really starts to break down though is when you get censored block attestation, where like Coinbase is not willing to or is not able to attest to a state of the chain that includes any Tornado Cash transactions. And so this happens every 32 blocks, and this is like sort of how the finality works, because finality is a little bit different in proof of work versus proof of stake. So,
wait, can you really quick explain the difference there between the no, not the finality part, the block production versus the block attestation? Like maybe like what is the type of example that would would pass through? Or like, versus one that wouldn't maybe pass through under this future system.
So hypothetically, let's say I want to use Tornado Cash. We'll use that pronoun here. Let's say I want to use Tornado Cash. Let's say someone wants to use Tornado Cash. If that person sends a transaction that includes Tornado Cash, and Coinbase is the staker whose turn it is to produce a block, then they're going to see that transaction in the mempool, and they're just not going to include it in that block. The thing is, as long as there are some nodes in the network that like don't operate under the censorship of like OFAC, then eventually that person will be able to get that transaction through. Someone's going to see that transaction sitting in the mempool, and they're going to include it in their block.
I see.
Like Vitalik said, at best, if 80% of the stakers are following censorship, then like on average you get your transaction through in 5 blocks instead of like
okay
right. So
I'm saying this. So basically the difference here would be Coinbase is being told at a certain level that only they cannot process transactions that are under a sanctioned list or whatever, or come from a list of wallets that have touched this sanctioned wallet list, versus like the more extreme version, which is saying that they cannot produce any block from any, or like they can't even agree to a state of the chain if somebody else produced a block that came from one of those wallets, right? So
exactly.
The difference here is, can you agree to a state of the chain if somebody else produced that block versus can you just not produce those blocks anymore, right? Okay.
Yep, that's exactly.
So that's the difference. Okay, that makes sense. And then like, on a regulatory level, is there a way for them to enforce that? There's probably no regulatory guidance, right, on like block attestation versus block production.
There's definitely no regulation so far, right? So this is like, there's not even any software being built right now that would like that even touches on this concept. Like nobody's out there building a weird version of like Ethereum like client software that has any kind of censorship or rules around like what you're allowed to attest to or not, right? So I think it's relatively low risk. Like there's no regulatory approach there, right? That like there is no law around block attestation versus block inclusion. And if like OFAC were to even try to apply pressure on any of this, it would be, I think, sufficiently vague, because I don't think anyone at OFAC understands. I mean, we barely understand post-merge like Ethereum block production, right? I don't think anyone at OFAC like is really digging into the details there. And to a degree, like this whole thing is a little bit of a boogeyman, right? It's a little bit of a like, nobody from any part of the government has, at least that I've seen, even indicated the possibility that this is coming down the line, right? Like obviously like the Tornado Cash sanctions weren't exactly like signposted ahead of time, but like this is like pretty much something that crypto Twitter came up with. This whole like dark timeline, right? Where like things turn out poorly and like Coinbase gets all this pressure. So back to the tweet.
Hold on. I don't think it's just that crypto Twitter has come up with this dark timeline thing, right? I think the difference here, right? Because if you see stuff like Uniswap, right? This is another hot topic where it's like, Uniswap has been told or has basically blacklisted 253 wallets from using the Uniswap front end, right? They can't do something on the blockchain, like on on the Ethereum level, to stop those people from interacting with their contract, right? Because it's a contract that's been deployed on chain. Is that correct?
Well, so this is slightly different from Tornado Cash, right? Because the Uniswap contracts are controlled by the Uniswap like DAO.
Okay.
Right? If the DAO voted to not allow certain addresses to interact with it, that would be that, right? The DAO doesn't want to do that. Nobody wants censorship. I mean, some people do, but like broadly, people don't want like direct censorship of addresses.
Yeah.
The issue is that they also don't want to go to prison. So Uniswap Labs operates the front end website, and the risk is that they could be accused of facilitating or like providing services for sanctioned addresses. That's really what they're trying to avoid here.
Yeah. Okay.
They, because they're a centralized entity that operates the front end, that's why the front end needs to have these checks in place.
Right. So that is basically the parallel that I want to make here, right? Coinbase is the parallel here is Coinbase is Uniswap Labs, right? Same thing, centralized entity that is running this service, right? Or that, controls the keys or whatever, right? In this case, instead of running the Uniswap protocol, they're going to be one of the main validators on the proof of stake chain, right? So if they get that pressure, or even if they preemptively feel that pressure coming from OFAC or from whatever entity, right, they may just have to operate in a certain manner where rather than, and the difference now is that they're not just touching the front end, right? They're actually touching the chain, right? They are operating the chain, right? So I think that's where the difference comes in. And that's why I think it is worth, basically preemptively thinking about, because like we have seen this kind of stuff from centralized entities, and now we're basically giving a few centralized entities massive control over the protocol, right? And seeing how that, interplay back and forth has gone in the past can provide us a pretty good example of how it might go in the future too, right?
Yeah, and so that's why, there was sort of like a little bit of a Twitter freak out, I guess, or like rightfully so. Like freak out sounds like it's unfounded, but people started worrying about this. So your boy Brian Armstrong came on Twitter and said,
Brian,
"Look, if this happens, that would be enormously awful, but we would likely just stop validating the chain in any way, shape, or form." Like,
they basically said, he basically said like they would shut down the services, they would shut down the staking services, not operate anymore, give people what would happen? They would give people their ETH back, or just people would have to withdraw or something like that. I don't know.
Yeah, basically give people their ETH back and just stop offering staking services. Right.
Okay. To be honest, like not only because I work there, but pretty cool statement.
Super based,
good to see. Yeah, based Brian.
Based Brian.
Yes. What would that do functionally to the chain and to the other validators, right? Like, does okay, let's say that the Coinbase stops operating, but what about Kraken, and what about, every other validator, right? Are they going to I guess I don't even know the question I'm asking, but.
So when it becomes Coinbase's turn, then they're just like inactive.
They're just going to skip and like the mempool.
Yeah. My guess is that like what we would see is some kind of like user activated soft fork that like just removes them from the validator set. If they publicly come out and said like, look, we control these addresses, like please take us out of the validator set. We can no longer offer our staking service. Very sorry for the inconvenience. Then like we would all just sort of move on to a soft fork of that, where Coinbase is just, we're skipping their turn.
I can bring out my UASF hat from 2017. Haven't heard the words. Haven't heard the words user activated soft fork in a long time, man. Yeah, that's bro. Incredible. I used to be a Bitcoin maxi.
That's a great hat.
The thing is, it's red with white lettering on it, so people just assume it's a MAGA hat. Even better. Again, these views are not mine. Okay. So on this fork, right? Like, or just on this OFAC situation, Coinbase has come out and said this. Was there anything else that really happened? Or you mentioned something now that developers are kind of actively starting to plan on, if there needs to be a fork, like how do we actually support that, right?
So for a little while, the rhetoric was pointing towards something a little bit more like they would choose violence, I guess, is the way of putting it. And so there were a lot of people talking about slashing anybody who appears to be like participating in censorship. So the Ethereum all-core devs call, which happens every 2 weeks, happened a few days ago, and there was like a lot of talk around censorship prevention, and it's like very clear that all of the Ethereum core protocol developers are extremely concerned about censorship. And like there's no support for like an OFAC chain from the core developer community, which in turn like says something about like the likelihood of like the probability of success of an OFAC chain if like the Ethereum core developers are not working on it at all. So like there were like a variety of views voiced, and overall like usually this call is just like technical, super boring details of like some client software has like some parameter that needs to be adjusted. Okay, thanks guys. This was much more philosophical. It started out with the take from Vitalik, which is like, yo, like, if Coinbase isn't producing blocks for like a certain address, like that's okay. Like, the network is resilient, right? Like that's what it means to be decentralized. Like if somebody's providing that like uncensored block production service, then like you're good. But if there's like, if they refuse to attest to blocks that contain those transactions, that's where it gets like dangerous. And then there were a lot of calls to like, is there something we could do? Like, could we build the software right now as a threat to censorship that like, if you start not attesting to blocks, if you start like trying to actually prevent the chain from ever having a transaction that's seen as undesirable, could we just like write all the software now and then fill in the addresses later? And like, that way there's like a real threat that like all it takes is us to push the button as a community. If we come to a social consensus to engage this weapon, which like when you're talking about threats in a protocol developers meeting, it sounds a little bit like loud. And everyone was like, yeah, no, I think we probably could, but like we probably don't need to yet. It's like, wait, what? Like people are much more like when you look on Twitter, like a lot of the Bitcoin maxis are like, fucking Ethereum, man, they're soft. They're gonna like roll over with these OFAC sanctions. Meanwhile, the Ethereum core developers were usually like a pretty like mild group, right? They're protocol developers. They're like, whoa. We need a threat. Like we need a piece of code as a threat right fucking now. Right. So it's just, I thought it was kind of interesting to see that.
Personally, like props, man. We see a lot of people like folding in the face of this kind of pressure and just ignoring the idea of privacy being a fundamental right on the internet, right? Like there are no fundamental rights if you ask me, right? Like we're a human species, we make our own rights, but on the internet, we can guarantee certain rights. And having privacy on the internet is like not a wrong thing. It's a very normal thing. So yeah, I think that's awesome. I think it's great that they're planning for it. Speaking of privacy and, people folding, FTX, man. Yo, what the fuck, dude?
What the fuck happened?
So FTX basically has started blocking accounts that interact with Aztec, which is a zero knowledge wallet, right? Is it a wallet or is it like a protocol itself? Like
I think it's a protocol itself. I think it's like privacy preserving layer 2. I think is the idea.
It uses ZK. Yeah, it's like if you want to interact with like zero knowledge based Ethereum. Yeah. Like even they have their own wallet, I'm pretty sure too. Like if you want to just send even, it's like very cheap. It's almost free. A really good product, actually. And yeah, the main thing is it's like zero knowledge base, so it preserves privacy. And yeah, FTX has started to block accounts that are sending funds or interacting with Aztec. Yeah.
What the
Super
fuck?
upsetting. Yeah.
Who
Classic.
told him to do that?
Narc Bankman-Fried.
Who is like zealously like, yeah, Aztec next. Let's do that one.
Dude, what is the point of being domiciled in the Bahamas if you can't do shit like this? Like, what are you doing out there, dude?
I mean, forgetting that even like there's like nobody said anything about Aztec. Right.
Yeah,
like, Tornado
not that
Cash,
I know
like,
of.
yeah, explicit guidance to not do
Right.
that. Right.
Mm-hmm.
Like nobody said anything about Aztec. What the actual fuck?
Yeah, and Aztec came back and responded too. They were like, guys, privacy. They're like this whole manifesto about why privacy is important, and you know how it's just a very normal thing. And yeah, I think look, this has been my thesis from I don't know part 2 of the merge episode. Or part 2 of the merge series. We're going to have multiple chains. We're going to have the OFAC chain and the tornado chain. You know, it's just like, I think that's the world we're going to live in, personally. I don't know. I think it's personally, like, I don't know. I also think it's fine. Like, I think it's okay. This Coinbase, this response from Brian Armstrong, I think throws an absolute wrench into my thesis, because I don't really know how that plays out. But I do think there's going to be a regular, like, I think we're seeing a pretty clear delineation now. People who care about the uncensorability, who care about having privacy, who care about, I don't know, just like those kinds of principles. And then the other folks who like who care about regulation and like playing by the rules of every jurisdiction or certain jurisdictions. And you know, the great part about software and open networks is that you can choose, right? You can fork and you can choose, and you can put your money behind whichever one you prefer. So I totally expect people to start taking sides, like firmly taking sides, over the next, I don't know, 6 months, however long this takes to play out. Honestly, I think it's going to take a little bit longer. Like, I don't know on a technical level how it'll work, but I expect there to be multiple forks initially, and then it'll, value will accrue to obviously one or two more than the rest. But I do expect that to be something that does happen.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess we'll wait and see. There will definitely be proof of work for. I don't know about OFAC ETH. I don't think it plays out that way. I think people just, people in the space just like care enough about like censorship resistance. Like, that's part of the whole point of the whole thing.
Wait, I want to play this game then. Who are the top 5 validators, August 20th, 2023?
I think we're going to see, I don't think we're going to see regulation that attempts to interfere with block production. And I think we're definitely not going to see regulation that attempts to interfere with, block attestation.
Okay.
I think it looks roughly like it does today. I wouldn't be surprised, though, to see more independent validators, because in 6 months, like, when you can actually withdraw your ETH, it removes like a huge risk vector, right?
Yeah.
Like, I love ETH. I want to acquire more ETH. I would love to have 32 ETH and then stake myself. I think that's like really cool, and I would love to participate directly in consensus and block production and like all of these important things. I think that's super, super cool. I don't want to do it yet because I might need that ETH for some degenerate JPEG gambling, right? So once it becomes liquid, people like me are going to start thinking, okay, like maybe it's okay for me to like store 32 ETH or whatever, or Rocket Pool, right? Like I could contribute 16 ETH and get matched, right? But I think overall the landscape looks pretty similar to what it looks like today.
Okay, so then what happens to Tornado Cash?
I'm optimistic that at the very least, the Coin Center will be able to repeal enough of the sanctions, or like I think there's a very strong legal argument that this is not an appropriate usage of sanctions and like cannot stand constitutionally, and they may not be able to roll it back like completely, but I think that there will be enough. There's a strong enough legal ground there that I think people who are Americans who have interacted with Tornado Cash will be able to withdraw their Tornado Cash and get some kind of soulbound NFT or whatever you want to call it that like flags them as like this. It's okay to interact with this user even though they withdrew ETH from Tornado Cash.
I'm saying even like, does Tornado Cash exist on the new proof of stake chain?
Yeah, I mean, of course, it's on chain. It's a smart
contract. And like, but even if it's sanctioned, right? If the addresses are sanctioned, you think it'll still like transactions will get through on the new chain?
Yeah, I think
and validators, even Coinbase will validate those transactions.
Nobody's going to not validate it until they are directly ordered to, right? I don't even do you think Coinbase is gonna like out of an abundance of caution not validate block or not like include transactions in their blocks to touch Tornado Cash? Like I don't think that's gonna happen. I don't think they're gonna censor until they're directly ordered to do so. And then I just think that's gonna be like 5 years down the line.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I just don't think that like the regulators are anywhere close to like knowing what's going on here.
Yeah, I guess there's just a mismatch in my understanding then of what these sanctions even mean, right? If the sanctions mean that you can't interact with these wallets, right? Like, if you can't interact with them, then validating transactions that come from those wallets or that come from that contract, like to me, that is literally the definition of interacting, right? Like you're validating transactions that come from like that source, right?
I mean, so, well, like what does validating even mean, right? Like I think you gotta decouple validation from block production. Like anyone can validate the transactions on the blockchain were like executed correctly. And
okay, so then even producing the block, then right? That's what Coinbase is doing here.
Yeah.
Right. So okay, producing the block to me isn't that interacting with the contract?
See, I think like no. Right.
Interesting.
Like you used a really interesting word
here.
called
I am not a lawyer.
Neither of us is anywhere even close to a lawyer. We couldn't be further from lawyers. Like I sure couldn't.
That's true.
Like I can barely read. Like here's the thing. Like you used a really interesting word at the start of this, which is processing. Like is Coinbase going to be able to process transactions that touch Tornado Cash?
Mm-hmm.
I think that's a really dangerous word here, right? Because if you're processing transactions, then all of a sudden every block producer is processing transactions as a like payments company.
Yeah.
You know,
and then they
mean?
need like money transmitter licenses and all this kind of stuff too. I mean, that's I guess again,
you
this
think
is
we're
where
heading down that road?
I don't know, man. Like I'm bearish on all government stuff, so yeah, maybe. I mean, I just don't see an optimistic outcome when the government gets involved, and I just don't think we've seen any kind of regulation really come. And maybe like you're saying, right? It doesn't come for the next 5 years, and we as a community come to these social consenses and solve these issues, and we move on, right? Before that regulation can even come down, and it's not an issue, right? But I don't know. I'm not that bullish on that idea. I think that we've yet to see some of this stuff really unfold.
I mean, here's my suggestion for how we can solve this shit, like in a way that doesn't require censorship or with minimal censorship. Here are the two things that I would suggest we as a community do. Number one, we should fucking hard fork, right? We should hard fork to remove the ETH from when we see that there's a $600 million hack. We should like hard fork to freeze the ETH at least, right? We need to start like being more thoughtful as a community about whether we want to achieve social consensus around things, right? Like like the DAO hack sort of taught us a lesson, which is that broadly speaking, there is wiggle room, right? Like there is wiggle room. And if it's like North Korean hackers are taking $600 million from some bridge contract, I don't think you would get a lot of dissent from an attempt to fork. So I think broadly we need to consider more stuff like that. We need to consider not letting horrible things happen on the blockchain, right? We need to consider like not like, like just rolling with it if there's like, countries like nation state attacks on smart contracts and those nation states are broadly considered to be like pretty bad.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I actually, I don't know if I agree with you on the bridge hack part of it, but I do agree with you on the part that there is not nearly enough like discussion or social coordination or social consensus kind of happening out there. Well, I think this has really shed light on the fact that, we do need to be thinking about these things a lot more. And this is where, honestly, like Bitcoin has suffered, where, this discussion doesn't happen at all in the Bitcoin community. And it's really like put Bitcoin in a box, right? And that's the thing I would hate to happen with Ethereum as well. And you can kind of see that, but the last couple of weeks have been, more or less hopeful that people can come together and address these things and like actually take a stand as well, except for fucking FTX.
You want to hear my number 2 action? This is the most duh idea, right? Obviously we should why is the US military not proactively fucking hacking these contracts? What the actual fuck? If your goal here is to like stop North Korea from like getting illicit funds, like hello, there's like say you say you take a 50% white hat like fee, right? In turn for like that's still enormously profitable. This thing not only does it pay for itself, it pays for like a zillion times over. Like Solidity's not that hard. Blockchains are not that hard. What the actual fuck? Like, the US government could hire like some of the top minds to do this even just part-time and to audit like a lot of like any smart contract with over X TVL and tried themselves to proactively do this instead of just letting North Korea get these funds. Like that's a primary concern here, right? Because like North Korea is like the largest illicit or doxed illicit actor that happened in Tornado Cash. Like,
right.
Come on, like this is total bullshit, right? Don't shut down the privacy tool. Fucking like proactively stop the bad guys.
Interesting. I wonder what kind of what kind of crypto involvement the different agencies in the United States government, like especially like in the intelligence agencies, like I'm sure they're involved in crypto, right? And on some level, they gotta be.
I mean, what dude? Wait, ooh, conspiracy. Ready? Everything attributed to Lazarus Group is actually the U.S.
It's actually
military.
the U.S. I've thought about that. I mean, dude, the most fun theory of all time.
Financial advice.
Exactly. Yeah. No, the most fun theory of all time is that Bitcoin and Satoshi was like a pet project of the NSA, and then it actually just caught fire, and now it's just like a full government spy project. That's like my favorite theory ever. It's like, yo, wait, why hasn't the 1 million Bitcoin moved? Yeah, because it's like from the fucking government. We're gonna have to cut this part of the podcast. If anybody from CIA, NSA, or any other department is listening, this is from the Decent Crypto Podcast. No, just joking.
Look, if they're listening, then it doesn't help if we delete this part of the podcast.
That's true. I should say, since they're listening, hey,
don't forget, tell your friends.
Yeah,
since you're listening, can you leave us a review?
Yeah, hey guys, at Decent Crypto Pod on Twitter.
Throw us a follow.
I see you in the DM saying, "Hey, I just graduated college. Can you send me 50 million Doge?" I see you, NSA. All right, let's move on from any of these troublesome topics to The DAO bullshit hour. All right, Matt. I'm going to leave you like a nice 15 minutes. I'll be back. Why don't you go off for a bit?
I don't know anything about this topic. I thought you knew about this topic.
Okay. I do know about this topic. I just want to hear your rant on this topic. Okay, so Faye and Rari, this DeFi protocol. Okay, so these two DeFi protocols which merged together. They had this token called Tribe, controlled by the Tribe DAO. They got hacked. I think they lost like $87 million or something like that. Their DAO comes together and puts out a proposal to pay back all of the holders and basically shut down the protocol. People are taking issue with this because it's compensating like individual users, whereas a lot of the funds were held by other protocols as well, like in stable coins, things like that.
Yeah, like Frax had a large amount of assets.
Frax. Yeah, exactly. So Frax had a ton, and the Frax founder was like going off about how this is just a terrible proposal, how it's not paying back the right people. So yeah, it's just a mess. This whole Faye and Rari thing has been a complete shit show for like the last 6 months.
Yeah.
Matt, the stage is yours.
I mean, it never pumped, right? Like nobody cared. Like I don't know a single person that has ever cared about either of these things. I have a friend
only Tetranode.
I have a friend who was friends with like either one of the Faye guys or one of the Rari guys.
Yeah.
Because he actually went to Berkeley. And he like knew him back in college and stuff. And even he has literally no idea what the protocols do, like nothing. Shutting down Faye/Rari has got to be just like enormously. Like I'm like, please shut it down so I can stop fucking reading about it. Like here's my hot take. If you shut down a DAO and you pay out the like what do you call it, the treasury to the token holders, does that make it a security?
Ooh, how, dude, can you imagine these guys are paying back the token holders and get hit by Gary Gensler? Oh my goodness. Wow. Talk about the weirdest timeline. I can totally see that, dude. Oh, dude, man.
Yeah. Look, honestly, that's great. Look, Gary Gensler and like the government trying to like figure out like what the fuck Faye and Rari do. It's gonna take them years. Let's let them get tied up in that.
That's true, dude. We have bigger fish to fry. We can't be worried about Tornado Cash and Proof of Stake. You know, we're going after the Faye and Rari guys.
Dude, it's got everything the government could possibly love. There's like an unapproved merger, right? There's like tokens that are getting cash flows now. There's
true.
Even better. There's like a stable coin involved, I think somewhere.
Yeah, there's a stable coin. Yeah.
Now one of them is a stable coin. I mean, come on. This is the makings of a beautiful, like, this could make like 12 people's career in the Department of Justice, right?
Oh, 100%.
We could take them the rest of their lives.
Yes. The only question is there enough money for them to claim to go after this case?
No, of course not. But I mean, like, look, they're going after Ripple.
Yeah, but Ripple, like, I think they could get a lot of money out of that.
From Ripple Labs?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if they like claim it's an unregistered security or something. I have no idea. I have no idea how any of this works, dude.
I have no idea either.
Yeah, I'm just saying, like, you know, in terms of bigger fish, like Ripple is definitely a bigger fish than Faye and Rari.
It's true.
Yeah, dude. I still can't believe, dude, of anything that's happened in crypto the last 5 years, Brad Garlinghouse, the CEO of Ripple, being on paper the richest man in the world for like, I don't know, 3 days in 2017. Just insane. Still can't be topped. Great.
I remember the day that I woke up and you texted me this.
Man, I just insane. What time?
Okay. Speaking of bigger fish.
Bigger fish to fry.
Much bigger fish here, man.
Absolutely.
You know what season it is?
Dogechain. Let's go.
It's Doge season.
It's Doge season. Matt, do you have the tweet?
Wait, what?
Oh,
Dude,
the greatest tweet.
Oh yeah.
Oh man.
Let's cover the story first.
For sure.
So it makes sense. You think our listeners know what Dogechain is?
I mean, I thought that was the whole story. Didn't we just tell the whole story? There's a Dogechain.
Wasn't there? But our poor listeners are going to be sitting here thinking, of course there's a Dogechain. It's the native asset of, Doge is the native asset of the Dogechain. There is yet another chain being described as the layer 2 for Doge. It is a, shout out. It's built on Polygon SDK, which is like...
dude, I had no idea.
Which they've actually renamed to Polygon Edge. And it's similar to like Cosmos SDK. It's just like a framework for building proof-of-stake blockchains. So this is now... this is a proof-of-stake smart contract, like, supporting blockchain. And you bridge your Doge, and it becomes Dogechain Doge.
It becomes Doge.
I think it might become Dogechain. I think is the name of it. Nobody
becomes Dogechain.
I mean, it's like, it's only been around for like a week or two.
Oh man,
who cares what it's called?
I mean, dude, the fact that you first of all know all of this and are going into this detail is way beyond what I was expecting. I was like, wait, what do you mean we need to tell the story? I just told the story. There's a Dogechain. Okay. Wait, so go on. What else is there?
It's look, man, it's Doge season. I don't make the rules.
It's Doge season. It's true. Shib pumped off this news. Doge has been pumping. Oh man.
So Dogechain is like being pitched as like community built, right? Like none of that VC bullshit, right? Because like which VC is gonna fund a fucking is gonna fund a DeFi protocol on Dogechain? There's I want to say one app according to DeFi Llama, which is a Uniswap fork. I forget what it's called. It's called something. Anyway, and so naturally, like, people are going to start spinning up a bunch of pump and dumps, of course, right?
Yes.
And this leads us to the tweet.
To the greatest tweet. I just pulled it up. Oh, man. The absolute state of things is the caption. My man, we'll shout him out, at Badly Liquidated, says, LMAO, my friend made a bot that auto buys $5 of every shitcoin launched on Dogechain. He says it bought 150 different coins and every single one rugged. Oh man, just incredible. Solid.
I like to take which one of you guys is going to be the first to build an algorithmic stablecoin on Dogechain?
Oh my god, dude. It's going to happen. I mean, this has to.
Dogechain is the casino, right?
Dude, the Luna derivative on Dogechain. Oh my god, this is great stuff, dude.
Listeners, if you have any ideas for the name that this protocol should have, please tweet at us at DecentCryptoPod. Look, dude. I will fork the shit out of Maker, and it'll be even better. It'll be like, there's no oracles on Dogechain, right? So I'm gonna hard code a random number generator. It's gonna liquidate randomly.
Oh man, that's pretty amazing. Actually,
it's gonna be like it's an algorithmic stable coin, but it's not pegged. It's stable, but it's not pegged.
Oh, dude, that's amazing. Random number generator for liquidations. Oh, that's fantastic. All right. Speaking of other serious news, actually, is there anything else? Oh yeah, the BendDAO.
Please,
yes.
Can we talk about NFTs?
Yes.
We haven't talked about NFTs,
in
like I haven't counted, but I swear it's been like 8 episodes since we.
It's been a long
NFTs.
time. I think the audience has shown us in our numbers exactly how much they care about NFTs. So we'll do a nice little 7-minute segment tucked to the end of this episode. Yes,
if
exactly.
anybody's still here, they're just going to turn it off now. It's fine. It counts as a play.
Yeah,
like, from our perspective, we.
Yeah. Don't tell the listeners that though, guys.
This is the
NFT
watching on
hour.
YouTube, I think we can see how far through they make it.
True. Oh yeah, true. We can. YouTube Analytics, yo, shout out. Great stuff. Yeah. Okay, Matt, what's going on in the NFT world?
All right, quick little catch up. The new meta is
Sudoswap, baby.
Sudoswap. Sudoswap, which we have, like, I think I have resolved to never discuss again. Like, the first episode that we talked about Sudoswap was, like, when it got launched, and I was like, we should probably cover it because we'll never talk about it again.
Mm-hmm.
And then a few weeks ago, something happened, and I was like, well, we should talk about it. Yeah, here we are talking about it again.
Mm-hmm.
Sudoswap, baby. Sudoswap has done, I want to say, $200 million worth of volumes, which is a fuck ton in this market. Volumes have, like, fallen off a cliff on OpenSea, right?
Yeah.
And it's, you know, just to recap, like, it's like Uniswap, but for NFTs. So a pool will have, like, ETH or NFTs or some mix, and you can buy and sell it at whatever, like, pre-programmed price. And it works a little bit like Uniswap, where, like, if you buy one, then the next one becomes slightly more expensive, et cetera, et cetera. People can create their own parameters for each pool. And I love hearing NFT people talk about this because they're like, wait, but, like, how do you know which one it's going to be, though? Like, and everyone's like, dude, like, they're just trading at the floor. Like, everything is just the floor now.
It doesn't matter, bro.
It really doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if your penguin has, like, a hat or not, right? Nobody cares. And so that's what Sudoswap has been up to lately. Now, this started a really interesting thing here, though, and I like this one a lot. People are minting NFT collections directly to Sudoswap.
Wait, okay, so how are they minting to Sudoswap exactly?
They're like in the NFT like contract, you have a function called mint to Sudoswap, and it mints the entire supply straight to a Sudoswap pool.
Oh, that's cool. Interesting.
Or or it mints the whole thing to your wallet, and then you deposit it in Sudoswap. That's really interesting because this is how, like, shitcoins work, right? You spin up your shitcoin, you put a little bit of ETH into the pool with a little bit of the with the entire supply of the shitcoin, and then you hope that, like, people pump it.
Yeah.
And it is absolutely working.
Yeah. Yeah, there's been so many 5 to 10x's, like, in one day that I just, like, it's like, oh, new pool launched on Sudoswap, quick 10x. And it's like, what is going on here?
Down 90.
Yeah, and then quick immediate round trip.
I mean, let's read off a few of the high quality projects.
Oh, yes, let's see.
We got Pseudolets, Pseudonauts, and of course, Pseudo Squid, Mecha Penguins, and of course, the number one blue chip on Sudoswap, the Pseudo Inu.
The Pseudo Inu. Yes. Look, dude, Pseudo Inu is the meta we need. This is the part of the bear market that we're in right now. This is the Pseudo Inu phase of the bear market. So if this is your first crypto cycle, just know that these are tried and true times. You know,
when
you're with
IBM blockchain.
Oh, no. We're way past that. That's next IBM. Bull market. Yeah. I think even IBM has learned now. They're like, fuck, we can't do the same thing again. It's got to be the IBM NFT platform.
Dude, IBM blockchain Inu? Absolutely.
Oh, man. The IBM collective. I don't know. It's going to happen.
Moonbird's IBM.
Oh, IBM goes TCO.
I love Moonbirds too. Shout out the most entertaining NFT collection I've seen this entire month since we last talked about NFTs. Moonbirds 2.
Yeah, Moonbirds 2.
Moonbirds went CCO, and the next day there were like a gazillion derivative projects.
Yeah.
Moonbirds 2. It's just Moonbirds and the number 2.
Yeah.
Not even a space.
Dude, incredible.
It's just like straight up just the description of Moonbirds, but with the extra adjective stolen. Moonbirds are a collection of 9,999 stolen NFTs that grant you access into the
and people say innovation is dead. All right, Matt, you got anything else?
Dude, the downturn, the market downturn in NFTs is really important to discuss.
Oh, duh. Oh, yeah. Okay. let's fill people in on this. So markets are nuking. People are really, by the way, people are really pissed at Sudoswap because they're undercutting all marketplace fees to marketplace fees are 0.5% on Sudoswap. And then also what they're doing is they're completely ignoring creator royalties. So creator royalties, if
just completely ignoring, like not even, you can't even allow for them in the protocol.
Yeah, if you're an artist or if you're you're creator of a project, you usually set a percentage of all secondary marketplace sales that you're going to get basically for perpetuity, right? So that, it's set by the artist. It's usually anywhere from like 2.5% to 5 to 10% in some cases, and that ensures that the artist is going to get paid every time. So like with something like Bored Apes or something like like an X copy who was like doing like free mints back in the day or like really cheap mints back in the day, and now his one of ones go for super expensive, like 50 ETH, 100 ETH, whatever. That's a way for the artist to always get paid, but the thing is, all of those artist payments, they're not done on chain because these trades are not made on chain. They're made eventually settled on chain, but what's happening is there's a transfer on chain, right? It goes from one wallet to the other, but the actual payment in like all of that, it's facilitated by a marketplace like OpenSea or now Sudoswap, and they have their own contract that executes that swap basically. And the royalties to the artists are set on the marketplace level in that contract, not on chain directly. So Sudoswap basically just said, yeah, like, fuck that. Like, we don't need to pay that out. And so people are really pissed. I just had to point that out. Now, the market has nuked. Floor prices of all these collections are going down. And this one guy, Cirrus NFT, Cirrus, CIRRUS NFT, has been shouting for like the last week, like, yo, I don't think anybody realizes this, but there's this thing called BendDAO, which basically lets you get liquidity for your NFTs for like blue chip collections.
You can borrow against your NFTs.
Yeah.
This is a part of the trend that nobody wanted called NFTFi. NFTFi is a thing, whether you like it or not.
Yeah. The NFTFi is the exact definition of what happens when you have more VCs than actual builders in the space. And you're like, wait, what can we come up with here? BendDAO had like a ton. How much exact? Do you know how much like liquidity was tied up in there at the peak? I don't know. It is a good amount, though.
Several hundred ETH.
Yeah.
Definitely
way more than that.
ETH, right?
Way more than that. I think
ETH?
like several hundred Bored Apes are about to get liquidated.
Here, let's pull it up on. Okay, currently 47 million. A few days ago, 90 million.
Okay, 90 million USD. Right.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. I remember seeing it was almost like 100. Okay. Yeah. So basically, all this liquidity is like tied up in there, and it has a liquidation price because the collateral has to be sold. If the price of the collateral goes down so much to not be able to cover the loan, it needs to be sold. We're getting pretty close to that level now. The biggest collateral, or like the most collateral, is Bored Apes, and like the Bored Ape price has gone down to like 70, the floor price. And I think
they have to sell it at a discount as well, right?
Yeah.
So it's like if the floor price goes to anywhere near what was borrowed against it, you got to just like liquidate it at a discount so that like you can recoup like what was loaned. Yeah,
because there's also no liquidity for these things. There's these kinds of fees that we just talked about, and so it's not going to be a great price. And so there's a ton of Bored Apes that are kind of like about to get sold off.
I mean, where are mutants now? 12.
Yeah, unreal.
Bored Apes themselves are at I saw yesterday 69.
69, I know, it's crazy.
I think they're at 68 now.
I think at 68, like another big cascading liquidation starts. On the lookout for that. I mean, I would say, what's your prediction? Where are Bored Apes? What's the bottom for Bored Apes? Not financial advice.
I think the bottom for mutants is like 0. Oof. And then I think the bottom for Bored Apes is like 1.
Ooh, wow, bearish Bored Apes.
I have ape fatigue, dude. I think that we will not be able to recover the bull market energy until apes go to 0. And it's just like something that's got to happen. This is like an ape sacrifice. You know what I mean?
We must sacrifice the ape.
Yeah, it's like in old times, the Aztecs. Like the sun might not rise unless the apes go to 0.
Wow.
I want the apes to go to 0.
We cannot start the bull market until we sacrifice all the apes. Interesting. Wow.
Look, I'm sorry if you have an ape, listeners, but it's just gotta happen. It's like I don't make the rules.
We need crypto dick butts to be the blue chip NFT collection. Only then can the bull market start.
Yeah. Or the pudgies. Wouldn't it be
funny? True. It has to be the pudgies, dude.
Yeah.
I might just go all in on pudgies, dude.
Please don't do that. I would definitely buy a dick butt over a pudgy. They're the same price now.
That's wild, actually.
Yeah, that's been untrue for almost all of history in both directions.
Are you sure, dude? Going back to Roman times? All right, now we're comparing. All right, this has been another episode of the Decent Crypto Dick Butt Podcast. We will be back with part 5 of the merge series on Tuesday. A little sneak preview. We'll be having an in-person party for the actual merge. Stay tuned for that. Our lawyers have said I can't give too many details out yet, but we'll share some more on Twitter on the next couple of shows. If you're in the East Coast, just save the date. We'll see you guys soon. Have a good weekend, everybody. And until then, stay decent.
None of this was financial advice, legal advice, investment advice, or any other kind of advice. If you're looking for advice, you are definitely in the wrong place. Until next time, stay decent.